Good day everyone, I am Jedediah A. Revilla from BSED 2101. Now I am here to report the Module 17, Stenberg Successful Intelligence Theory and WICS model. So let's find out who invented the Successful Intelligence Theory and WICS model. Robert Jeffrey Stenberg is an American psychologist and psychometrician. He was born in New Jersey on December 9, 1949. After suffering from test anxiety and doing poorly on an exam, he realized that the test was not an accurate measure of his actual knowledge and abilities. Stenberg served as the president of the American Psychological Association in 2003. In 2013, he voluntarily resigned as the president of the University of Wyoming after having held the office for only 4 months. Stenberg's interest in psychology began in early life. When he took the same test in a different room with a group of younger students, he found that he felt more confident and scored much as a result. His later academic experiences further demonstrated that standard tests were often poor measures of mental abilities. Stenberg is perhaps known for his research intelligence, love, cognitive styles, and creativity. His triadic theory of intelligence focuses on what he refers to as successful intelligence, which is composed of 3 elements: analytical intelligence, creative intelligence, and practical intelligence. The triangle theory of love is one of his theory, which is defined as identifies commitment, passion, and intimacy as the 3 components of love. Stenberg's major contributions, as I said a while ago, is triadic theory of a human intelligence, which are the successful intelligence, and several influential theories related to creativity, wisdom, thinking styles, love, and hate. Now, let's move on. So, we're going to discuss the successful intelligence theory. The theory of successful intelligence points that some students who do not do well in conventional courses, in fact, have the ability to succeed if they are taught in a way that better fits their patterns of abilities. Successful, intelligent people discern their strengths and weaknesses, and then figure out how to capitalize on their strengths and to compensate for or remediate their weaknesses. Successfully intelligent individuals succeed in part because they achieve a functional balance among a triarchy of abilities. Moreover, of all these abilities can be further developed. The successful intelligence theory include the 4 skills. The first one is the memory skills. Help us recall facts and pieces of information that help us retain the knowledge we acquire. Memory is our ability to encode, store, retain, and subsequently recall information from the past experiences in our human brain. It can be thought of in general terms as the use of past experience to affect or influence the current behavior. Memory is needed to begin thinking creatively. One cannot be applied knowledge which you cannot remember. In memory skills, we have 2 types that we can distinguish: the short-term memory and the long-term memory. The short-term memory generally considered to be your day-to-day memory, also known as working memory. The second one is the long-term memory. It is when your memory from past being retained in your mind are still present and expressed with. The second successful intelligence theory is the analytical skills that help the person determine if a certain idea is good. Analytical skills refers to the ability to collect and analyze information to problem solving and make decisions. You use analytical skills when detecting patterns, brainstorming, observing, interpreting data, and making decisions based on the multiple facts and options available to you. Also, analysis is important before one can think of a new and better ideas. The third successful intelligence theory is the creative skills. Allow a person to come up with a new idea, usually to answer a need or solve a problem. It makes one flexible and able to adjust to changes in one's situation. Creative thinking is the ability to consider something in a new way. Creativity is what moves people forward. Creativity gives birth to new and better solutions to problems. Without creativity, we will get trapped in things in ways that don't work anymore. The last successful intelligence theory, or the fourth one, is practical skills. Enable a person to apply what one has learned. It also allows one to carry through or implement a plan. Practical intelligence, on the other hand, makes us apply what we have learned. It gets us to actually do what needs to be done. To sum it up, it is vital that we remember what we learned, or the memory. Use critical thinking to evaluate the things we learned, or analytical. Be innovative in finding better ways of doing things and solving problems, of being creative. And apply and put to action what we learned, apply it practically. In collaboration with other prominent psychologists, he proposed the WICS, or that stands for Wisdom, Intelligence, Creativity, and Synthesis model. The WICS model. The WICS model, intelligence, is viewed as a set of fluid abilities to learn from experience and to adapt to one's surroundings. Individuals possess abilities that can be nurtured into competence and further cultivated into expertise. The WICS is a more recent model of how humans think and reason that can help us understand how students will learn most effectively. It aims to develop basic abilities through expertise. WICS acronym stands for Wisdom, Intelligence, Creativity, Synthesis model. Why do we need the WICS model? The WICS model was successful for teachers and learners because it is one of the goals for the learners to learn to see and understand the point of views of others. It is important for your learners to balance one's own needs, the needs of other people, and also the world or your surroundings. The basic idea is that the citizens of the world needs creativity to form a vision of where they want to go and to cope up with changes in the environment. Analytical intelligence to certain whether their creative ideas are good to me. Practical intelligence to implement their ideas and persuade others the value of their ideas and wisdom in order to ensure that the ideas will help achieve some ethically based common good. Over the long and short terms, rather than just what is good for them and their families and friends. So, your role as a teacher is not to educate the mind alone, but to educate the soul as well. Accept this is not just a job, but embrace it as a mission. Stenberg proposed that while education develop analytical and practical intelligence as well as creativity, wisdom should be an integral part of the whole process. Whatever topic you will be teaching, it is important to integrate questions, tasks, or activities that target the development of wisdom. You should also come up with creative ideas or creative ways for your learners to put together or synthesize intelligence, creativity, and wisdom. Uses. For the continuation of my report, Robert Lindrum-Killier will give us further information about this topic. So, hope you listen, hope you learned something from me, and thank you for watching.
So hello, good day to all of you. I'm here to continue our report. But before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Robert Lindrum-Killier, BS Ed Filipino major. So now, let's get started. Applying the WICS model. The uses of the WICS model include admission, instruction, and assessment. However, for this module, we shall focus only on the model's instructional and assessment uses. One way that you can apply the WICS model in instruction is when you reflect and make choices on the tasks and activities that you will give to teach and assess your student. You may choose to teach analytically, creatively, practically, as well as teach for wisdom. Your choice can be based on the preferences and strengths of your learners. This is useful for any level from preschool to higher education. Stenberg described one of each. So now, let's discuss it. How do you teach analytically? Make your student use critical thinking. Design tasks and activities that provides opportunity for your learners to analyze, critique, judge, compare and construct, evaluate, and assess. First is analyze. Teachers should first select a piece of analysis, then ask the student to interpret it in the classroom. For example is, analyze the developmental of the character of Ibarra and Noli Mitsanghere. Second is critique. Teacher needs to remember that critique is a lesson with clear learning targets. For example is, critique the design and feature of latest smartphone. So in this situation, one student or one person should critique the feature and design of one smartphone to surely know what are the things that include in this phone.
Is judge. Teachers should never judge students. If they start judging students and being partial, then students now are smart enough to treat such as teachers in the way they deserve to be. For example, judge the artistic merits of Filipino cartoonist Larry Alcala's Slice of Life. Fourth one is compare and construct. Student assessment for planning and different instruction because there are critical teacher shortage or make teaching a more rewarding respective profession. For example, compare and construct the Italian approaches of Montessori and Reggio Emilia in early childhood education. The fifth one is evaluate. Information about student learning can be assessed through both direct and indirect in measurements. For example, evaluate the validity the theory of evolution. Write a term paper on this. The last one is assess. To be support their student learning, teachers are continuously engaging in going assessment of their learning and teaching. For example, assess the strategy of the Manila City government to improve the traffic situation around the city.
Then, the second one is, how do you teach creatively? It is important for you to encourage and sustain your students' creative ideas. Remember to be an example to theirs by taking a risk to share your own ideas, think out of the box. Design tasks and activities to help students to create, invent, discover, imagine if, suppose that, and predict.
The first one is create. Students need to learn by creating it helps to synthesize information. For example, create an alternative ending to Florante at Laura. Then, the second one is invent. Teachers need to understand subject matter deeply and flexibility so that they can help students create useful. For example, invent a dialogue that would transpire if Jose Rizal and Ninoy Aquino meet. Third one is discover. Teaching in ways that connect with students. Effective teaching using discovery techniques while observing the class. For example, discover a way to explain why heavy ships float at the sea. The fourth one is imagine. Imagine if you could learn everything. Imagine, for example, imagine if the EDSA revolution did not happen in 1986, what do you think our country will be like at the present and 10 years later? The fifth one is suppose that. If the teacher are to prepare an ever more diverse group of students for much more challenging, teach only what the students able to learn. For example, suppose that we are to design a computer game to help children learn about love and sacrifice. Describe the game you will create. Lastly is predict. Students' prediction can reveal their conception. Teach teacher in the study predicted how well their student would perform on the specific items on assessment. For example, predict changes that will happen if the human had a third eye at the back of the head, choose an appliances or gadget that would need to be changed in order to be useful, propose a new functional design.
Then, the third one is, how do you teach practically? Have in mind the real-life situation where students can use what they learn to meet their own and others' practical needs. Design tasks and activities that allows your student to apply, use, put into practice, implement, employ, and render practical what they know.
The first one is apply. Teachers learn best by studying, doing, and reflecting, by collaborating with others, teachers, by looking closely at students and their work, and by sharing what they see. For example, apply addition concept in determining number of boys and girls in the classroom. The second one is use. Focus on how to use the professional learning space to work with the teacher. For example, use the knowledge of Excel to keep track of daily household expenses. The third one is put into practice. Teaching in ways that connect with the students. For example, put into practice what you learn about classroom rules in making your own classroom rules poster. The fourth one is implement. High-quality implementation of educational approaches. For example, implement a lesson plan that one has made. The fifth one is employ. Teachers need to know to teach all students according to today's. For example, employ the formula of computing the area of one's living room to determine the number of 12 times 12 tiles needed to cover the floor. Lastly is render practical what they know, teaching in a way that balances learning for a memory. For example, render practical a proposed assembly design for a computer PC.
The last one is, how do you teach for wisdom?
One of the goals is for learners to learn to see and understand the point of view of others. It is important for your learners to balance one's own needs with the needs of other people, and also the needs of world or the environment. It is developing your learners to consistently act based on the positive ethical values. You teach for wisdom when you are able to move your student to try to find the common good, see things from others' point of view, balance your own interests with those of others and institution, look at the long term as well as the short term, reflect about how one can base his every decision on positive ethical values, and appreciate that in life what is seen as true and effective may vary over time and place. The WICS model has been used not only for instruction, but also for admission and assessment. Stenberg and his colleges proposed, tried out, and studied creative ways of doing student admission as well as assessing student learning. Based on their studies, the WICS model was successfully for teacher and their learner because it celebrates the differences of learners through a supportive learning environment, made the student remember better what they learned, build on the strength of the learners, and strengthen the motivation of the learner.
Thank you for listening. I hope you really understand our report. Keep safe and God bless.